Shedeur Sanders trained like a starter, but Kevin Stefanski still won't let him play. That's a conflict igniting the Browns' fan base after footage leaked of Sanders outpacing expectations in practice. The back injury narrative no longer holds weight. Shedeur's timing, agility, and control challenge every excuse.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
What began as a routine delay now looks more like calculated resistance from a coach unwilling to admit he's been wrong. And with every evasive press conference, the resentment builds. What this footage lays bare is more than just a mishandled injury report. It's a crisis of integrity. The refusal to integrate Shedeur isn't grounded in football decisions, but in preserving a fragile hierarchy. Stefanski's system has stopped evolving, and that stagnation is costing the Browns momentum. The locker room feels it. The city sees it. The fans are done waiting for transparency. What they want now is a coach who can lead without letting ego get in the way of talent. The Browns can't keep this under wraps anymore. Not when the entire internet has already seen the tape. Not when fans, players, and analysts are all echoing the same thing. Shedeur Sanders is ready. The training footage didn't just poke holes in the Browns' narrative. It completely torched it. What's on that video doesn't look like a guy still recovering from a back issue. It doesn't look like someone not quite there yet. It looks like a quarterback moving with purpose, laser-sharp passes, clear field awareness, physicality that suggests full health and full confidence. The Browns spent weeks hiding behind injury talk and vague evaluations, but this footage left no room for interpretation. Shedeur isn't the problem. The leadership is. At the center of that dysfunction is head coach Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski's strategy, or lack thereof, has gone from questionable to indefensible. The back injury narrative being used to delay Shedeur's debut? It's unraveling. Fast. Critics have pointed out how convenient that excuse is, especially in light of the video showing Shedeur moving with precision and power. So now the injury line looks less like caution and more like manipulation, a way to shield the coaching staff from scrutiny while maintaining the illusion of control. But control over what? Certainly not over the locker room, which appears increasingly disillusioned, not over the media, who've moved from speculative to accusatory, and definitely not over the fans, who have taken one look at this mess and decided they've seen enough. What's driving the situation isn't strategy. It's ego. Stefanski's reluctance to even consider Shedeur as a starter has nothing to do with performance and everything to do with politics. It's the classic power move. Keep the young star under wraps to protect the veterans, to protect the coach's vision, to protect the status quo. Except there's nothing left to protect. The Browns' offense is flatlining, and the excuses are stale. This isn't about easing someone into the system. This is about resistance to change. A refusal to admit that what you've built isn't working. And when the footage directly contradicts your narrative and you still won't pivot, that's not leadership. That's self-preservation. And it's not just hurting Shedeur. It's hurting the whole team. The Browns had a bye week, a golden opportunity to regroup, re-strategize, and maybe, even hypothetically, get real about who gives them the best chance to win. Instead, they use that break to double down on excuses. No new vision. No shakeups. Just more of the same evasive language. More lines like, we're evaluating, and we need to do better, which by now feel like broken promises. Because let's be honest, how many times can you hear we need to do better before you realize they have no plan to actually do better? And that's where this all ties back to Shedeur. He's not just another quarterback in development. He's the proof that there's a path forward. If the Browns would stop tripping over their own pride. He's ready. He's disciplined. He's shown every trait the team claims to value. Professionalism, focus, consistency. He's done the work. He's stayed out of the drama. And still, he's being treated like a backup option. Why? Because letting Shedeur play would force the Browns to admit they've been wrong. About their QB room. About their strategy. About the state of the team. And that's something Stefanski seems unwilling to face. Even as the locker room's energy grows colder. Even as fans grow louder. Even as Shedeur's footage spreads like wildfire, exposing a disconnect so glaring it's become impossible to ignore. That disconnect? It's not just between the coaching staff and the fans. It's between leadership and reality. The Browns are not in a position to stall. They're not 8-1. They're not in cruise control. They're in a grind, struggling to keep momentum in a season that still has everything on the line. And they're squandering it, week after week, all while a potential difference maker watches from the sideline. The cost isn't just measured in wins and losses. It's measured in morale, in public trust, in media narratives that are turning from critical to brutal. Because once the press starts peeling back the curtain and sees a pattern of indecision, manipulation, and leadership paralysis, they don't stop. And neither do the fans. The trust is gone. What's left is pressure. The Browns front office is watching a grassroots movement take shape, and it's not in their favor. The people have seen the tape. They've seen Shedeur run drills at NFL speed, with NFL precision. They've seen him make plays with more urgency than the offense has shown all season. And they're asking the obvious. What else does he need to do? Because from the outside, it looks like nothing will be good enough. Not until the coaching staff feels comfortable. Not until it's convenient. Not until it suits them. That mindset is dangerous. It signals that talent doesn't matter as much as optics. That performance won't always beat politics. That coaches are more worried about being right than getting it right. And the players see that too. Locker rooms don't stay silent forever. You think veteran players are okay with watching the same stale offense sputter out week after week, while one of the most talented young guys in the league is being benched under suspicious reasoning? That frustration builds. It spreads. And if the coaching staff doesn't get ahead of it, it spills into performance, which is exactly what we're seeing. The Browns aren't just underperforming. They're underachieving with potential sitting right in front of them. Shedeur's video didn't just expose his readiness. It exposed the gap between leadership's perception and the team's reality. And the longer they refuse to close that gap, the more they risk losing the season altogether. The bottom line? Shedeur Sanders has done everything that's been asked of him, and then some. He's checked every box. He's shown up, put in the work, and proven that he belongs. And he's still being kept in the shadows. Not because he's not ready, but because the coaching staff isn't. Not ready to admit they missed it. Not ready to surrender their authority. Not ready to let someone else take the spotlight. But at some point, that spotlight turns whether they like it or not. This moment, this controversy, this leak is not going away. It's bigger than a quarterback. It's bigger than a game. It's about what kind of organization the Browns want to be. One that leans on legacy decisions, or one that evolves. One that operates on fear, or one that plays to win. And right now, they're making the wrong choice. So here's the question that no one in leadership wants to answer. What's your plan when the locker room tunes you out? When the fans stop believing? When the talent you buried turns into the symbol of everything you refuse to fix? The clock's ticking. The pressure's building. And Shedeur Sanders isn't going anywhere. If you're watching this unfold and feel like the Browns are sleepwalking through another wasted opportunity, say something. Drop your take in the comments. Share this with the Browns fans who've been venting about this every Sunday. Hit that like if you're tired of hearing the same hollow excuses. And subscribe if you're ready to keep following this story, because if the Browns don't turn this around fast, this won't just be a scandal. It'll be the moment that defined the season. The Browns are out of time. What started as a curious case of quarterback rotation has evolved into the single most telling moment of the season, not because of a play on the field, but because of what was refused off of it. That leaked training video didn't just cause chaos, it revealed it. The Cleveland Browns have been running from the truth for weeks, and now it's chasing them at full speed. And Shedeur Sanders is the name written in bold at the center of the storm. Let's not waste time pretending this is still a discussion. It's not. The tape speaks for itself. Shedeur moves like a pro. He throws like a pro. He carries himself like a pro. And yet, week after week, he's still standing on the sideline, helmet in hand, while this team stumbles through stale offensive sets and lifeless drives. There's no developing excuse that holds anymore. There's no, he's still learning line that isn't immediately buried under that footage. He's training at full intensity. He's executing complex drills. He's doing everything the starter is doing, except actually starting. And the coaching staff? Silent. Strategic silence. Maybe, but silence all the same. Kevin Stefanski has taken the mic after every game and recited the same lines. We're evaluating, we're progressing, we believe in our guys. But what does that even mean anymore? Because the fans believe in someone too, someone they're not seeing on Sundays. This isn't about trusting the process. This is about a process that's clearly broken. A coaching staff that's been handed the blueprint, the materials and the hammer, yet still refuses to build. And every game without Shedeur only reinforces the worst-case assumption that it was never about his ability. It was about their insecurity. Because let's be real, if Shedeur steps on that field and shines, and he will, it doesn't just expose the fact that they waited too long. It calls into question everything they've done up to this point. Every snap wasted, every drive lost, every game they kept pushing forward with a system that wasn't working. The video leak forced their hand, and they still won't play the card. And in that refusal, they're losing the fans. Cleveland isn't some casual market. These are some of the most passionate, loyal, and frankly desperate fans in the league. They don't just want a winning season. They need a reason to believe this franchise isn't trapped in its own history. And for a brief moment, when that Shedeur clip dropped, they had that. Hope, energy, momentum. All of it gone by the next press conference, replaced with more vague injury updates and more bureaucratic nothingness from Stefanski and his staff. They're not just ignoring a quarterback, they're insulting a fan base. A fan base that's been through enough. A fan base that knows what dysfunction looks like and is now watching unfold in real time. Because this isn't just Shedeur's fight. It's theirs. It's every Browns fan who's been told to trust a plan for the last 20 years. Every fan who's watched talent rot under poor leadership. Every fan who gets gaslit by front office doublespeak, while the product on the field falls apart. And the locker room? They feel it too. Reports of discontent, of confusion, of frustration. It's all out there now. Players aren't blind. They see who's grinding in practice. They see who deserves a shot. And when leadership refuses to reward that work, that's when trust fractures. It's one thing to lose games. It's another to lose belief. And if Stefanski thinks he still has a room, he better look again. Because the longer Shedeur stays sidelined, the more his teammates see the truth. This isn't a meritocracy. This is politics. This is fear disguised as strategy. And the damage isn't just internal. The Browns are becoming a punchline. National media has picked this story up, and the tone is changing. This isn't a quarterback controversy anymore. It's an organizational embarrassment. A high-profile franchise actively bearing its own best chance at turning the season around, because the coach would rather stall than risk being outshined. And here's what makes it worse. Shedeur isn't even trying to cause drama. He's not out there demanding the spotlight. He's not trashing the staff. He's working. Quietly. Consistently. Like a pro. Letting his actions speak. And those actions? They're louder than anything Stefanski has said all season. You don't get many chances to shift a culture. To turn the page. To show that you can recognize opportunity. And act on it. The Browns had one in front of them. And instead of embracing it, they shoved it under the rug. It's a decision that's becoming harder and harder to justify. And one that could define this entire coaching let's talk consequences. The longer this drags on, the more irreversible it becomes. Every week without Shedeur is a week of lost reps, lost development, and lost faith. It's a missed opportunity for a turnaround. A chance to salvage something from a season that's quickly slipping away. But more than that, it's a message. And right now, the message being sent from the top down is crystal clear. Talent doesn't matter. Readiness doesn't matter. What matters is keeping the seat warm and the power intact. But eventually, the seat won't be warm. It'll be gone. Because the longer Stefanski waits, the more this starts to feel like the beginning of the end. Not just for him, but for this entire version of the Browns. The NFL moves fast. Public perception even faster. And in the time it's taken this coaching staff to evaluate Shedeur, the entire football world has already done it for them. And their verdict? You're wasting a star. It's not too late, but it's close. The Browns can still pivot. They can still do the right thing. But the window is shrinking by the hour. The locker room is watching. The media is watching. The fans? They've never looked away. Shedeur Sanders isn't just ready. He's waiting. And the only thing standing between him and a franchise revival is the man who refuses to say yes. If you've been screaming at the screen, drop your thoughts below. Is Shedeur the answer? Are the Browns blowing it yet again? Hit that like if you're done with excuses. Share this with the fans who've been riding this emotional roller coaster alongside you. And subscribe if you're ready to watch how this plays out. Because if things don't change soon, this won't just be a scandal. It'll be a full-blown collapse. The clock isn't just ticking. It's almost out. Cleveland is teetering on the edge of one of the most avoidable implosions in recent NFL memory. And it all circles back to one name, Shedeur Sanders. Not because he's been loud. Not because he's stirred the pot, but because he's exposed everything, simply by doing the work and doing it well. That leaked video didn't just stir up noise. It shattered the glass. There he was, moving like a starting caliber quarterback, poised, fast, laser-focused. Drills at full speed, arm sharp, footwork tight, confidence unshaken. And somehow, we're still being told he's not ready, that there's a process. Please, you don't need a scouting degree to see what the world saw in that clip. The tape was undeniable, and the Browns' refusal to address it with any level of clarity, that's where the real controversy exploded. Because the fans have been fed the same bland lines all season. He's still recovering. We're evaluating. He'll be ready when he's ready. But when you drop footage that shows Shedeur outperforming the standard, moving with precision, throwing with command, those explanations fall apart instantly. And when explanations collapse, all that's left is speculation. Fans are speculating. The media is speculating. The locker room? Don't kid yourself. They're absolutely speculating too. Everyone is asking the same question. What is this really about? Because it's not about performance anymore. It's not about timing. It's not even about injury. It's about power. Kevin Stefanski's refusal to elevate Shedeur Sanders isn't about player development. It's about maintaining a grip on a team that's clearly slipping through his fingers. This isn't strategy. It's stall tactics. It's a playbook of political maneuvering, dressed up in coach speak and injury reports that no longer match what our eyes are seeing. And people are catching on. Let's not pretend the Browns' current trajectory is working. The offense is stagnant. The team looks out of rhythm. Every game feels like a roll of the dice, and not in a fun way. And in the middle of that chaos, one of the most promising quarterbacks in the league is being shelved like a backup plan. No one's buying that it's because he needs more time. It's ego. It's fear. It's a coaching staff terrified of being proven wrong by the very player they're trying to contain. Because what happens if Shedeur steps in and thrives? What happens if he starts throwing darts, making smart decisions, leading drives, and, most importantly, winning? The narrative crumbles. The veterans they backed? Exposed. The game plans they clung to? Questioned. The leadership they've clung to like a security blanket? Under the spotlight. That's the risk they're running from. And ironically, in running from it, they're guaranteeing the very collapse they fear. And here's what makes it all worse. Shedeur isn't just ready, he's necessary. You can't look at this team and tell me they don't need a reset. Not a rebuild, not a blow-up, but a spark. They need energy, movement, someone who can walk into the huddle and shift the momentum. Someone who gives a locker room a reason to believe again. And that person is already in the building. Helmet on, practicing harder than anyone, putting in the hours, staying silent while the narrative around him spins out of control. It's almost too poetic. The one guy who could fix this mess is the one being used to cover it up. That's not just a misstep. That's sabotage. And Cleveland fans know sabotage when they see it. This isn't their first ride through organizational dysfunction. They've seen talent wasted. They've seen front office chaos. They've seen coaches talk a big game while the team spirals. But this is something else. This is a choice. They're choosing to delay, choosing to ignore the evidence, choosing to protect pride over progress. And every week they do, the fan base slips further away. Because it's not just about losing games. It's about losing trust. That's what's really evaporating here. Every injury excuse. Every, we're monitoring his progress. Every, we'll do what's best for the team. It's all just noise now, and the players know it. There's only so long you can preach accountability while dodging it at the leadership level. Only so long you can talk about rewarding performance while rewarding mediocrity. When the gap between message and reality gets too wide, everything starts to unravel. That's where the Browns are headed. The team that could have made a bold, energizing shift is instead dragging its feet, watching the season unravel while the future of the franchise stands on the sideline. A quarterback who's shown nothing but readiness and professionalism is being treated like a liability. And it's not just frustrating, it's infuriating. Because we've all seen what happens when teams wait too long. When coaches protect their systems over their stars. When front offices worry more about optics than outcomes. Those are the teams that never get over the hump. The teams that always have excuses but never answers. That's the team Cleveland is becoming, and it's a tragedy in slow motion. So here we are. Shedeur Sanders is ready. The fans know it. The media knows it. The locker room feels it. And yet, the people in charge still won't make the move. Still clinging to a version of control that no longer exists. Still pretending they have time. But they don't. Every game without Shedeur is another day lost. Another chance wasted. Another reminder that leadership is more concerned with saving face than saving the season. At some point, someone's going to have to answer for that. Maybe not this week. Maybe not this month. But if this pattern continues, that day will come, and it'll be ugly. Because the fans won't forget. The players won't forget. And Shedeur? He's already shown he doesn't need the spotlight to make a statement. He made his case in that training video, without saying a single word. Now it's the Browns who are speaking volumes, by saying nothing. So what do you think? Is it finally time to hand Shedeur the keys? Is Cleveland wasting its most promising asset out of fear? Drop your thoughts below. Share this if you're one of the many fans shaking your head every Sunday. Hit that like if you're done waiting for leadership to wake up. And subscribe if you're ready to stay locked in. Because something's going to break. And when it does, the Browns won't be able to hide behind evaluations anymore.